Chart is looking quite good today. Please ignore this panel on the left side. We do not have it anymore. Yeah, we actually lost that account, so we can ignore that. I'm trying to add the trading view, instruments view on the left side. Let me just add it quickly. Mhm. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, let's take a look at MNQ. MNQ is, yeah, the 8 p.m. move was quite good. It was a bullish move, right? Yeah, and then it took the liquidity from this high, I guess. Let's see if that's what happened. Yeah, I took the liquidity from this high. Oh, immediately, that was a really good trade for us. This is actually my trade setup. If I had the account, this would be something that I would be trading. So here, if you see, yeah, there was really good momentum to the downside. Came and tested the area again. That's a that's a risky retracement, but yeah, the trade idea is working for us. I would never wait until it retraces until here. That would mean that we'll only get very rare setups. And usually, when price retraces to this level, it usually just reverses and hits your stop loss. But what's the trade-off? Or what is the other side or the merit of it? It's that there is a huge reward that's left behind for you. So if you wait patiently until it comes close to the almost to the order block level where the move happened, I mean the move started, you get a huge reward for it. But what is the downside? Downside is that probability is on the lower side. When price reverses like this, it usually just breaks out and goes up. So that's a risk reward and probability of win are both just like a seesaw. It's just one balances the other. When one goes up, the other goes down. Yeah, that is what we see here. Yeah, I'm trying to trade with my paper trading account at the moment because, as you know, until it's the end of the month, I'm not going to take a new eval account because otherwise I'll just, I mean, finish all my money just buying eval accounts. So I cannot buy it right now. I'll wait until the end of the month for next month's eval account. So I've made this plan that every month I'll be buying an eval account for my practice. So we lost the one for this month. It was because of some stupid trade, so I'm not very proud of how I traded this particular account. Trying to do well on the next one, but yeah, let's see. I want to discuss or let's say talk about trading psychology a bit today. So this is like my journal, so I'm gonna talk to myself about a bit of trading psychology and how, in general, psychology is heavily linked towards trading and trading mindset. It's such an integral part of successful trading that it's quite unfortunate that people don't seriously discuss about it. But I know in YouTube recently, at least in the last few years, we have so much content on trading psychology. But still, most beginners or most traders chase, that 100% win rate strategy or a high probability setup instead of, focusing on this psychology. One of the problems that I had in my trading life was that initially, although I've seen multiple people say about the or talk about the importance of trading psychology, I never understood, let's say I never embodied it. Like I understood it was important. I was, I understood it intuitively that you have to be disciplined, be patient, you have to follow some restraint when you feel like entering an impulse trade. but I never actually embodied the idea uh, that there was another side to it. I always traded with a small capital, so I never felt the urge or pressure to overtrade too much, and blow up all my money. But after starting funded accounts, I see the difference very clearly. Like you see how you can make fortunes using a funded account. So it becomes really important to you and valuable to you. And there, when you make huge losses, when you widen your stop loss, that is when you actually see the impact of psychology. Like you know exactly what to do to be profitable, and you're not able to do that. You can see that difference clearly while using a funded account. Yeah, so I think I'm a big proponent of funded account if you can, allocate a small amount of your monthly income or your capital to purchasing a funded account, because I think that is one of the best ways to practice your psychology, because there all your wild beasts inside you will come out, your impulsivity, your irrational decision making, your impatience, everything will show up there, because there you know what is the potential reward. So, your dopamine chaser will come up. So that's why I believe funded accounts is a really good way to practice improving your psychology. You're, you will realize how stupid your decisions are sometimes. You will see you making irrational decisions live, and in and moments after that you will understand, okay, that was not whom I thought I was. Yeah, that's one of the biggest revelations that funded accounts have taught me, and I think actually it's something that would turn out to be beneficial to most people. Yeah. So yeah, trading psychology is actually very important, but although I understood it theoretically, I think for me to embody it and understand the real meaning of it, it took some time. It took, I think, for you to understand trading psychology, for me, based on my experience, I feel that having a strategy or a proper setup, or some people call it, uh, what do some people call it? They call it a model. Yeah, I think ICD people call it a model or something. So yeah, I mean, it's all the same. I mean, when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about the same thing. So it's either a valid strategy that you know and you've seen and you've tested and realized it's working, or a setup that's working, or a model or whatever that is working in the market that has given you enough confidence. Okay, this thing works. Technically, this is right. If I just execute it this way, this is supposed to work. If there is something like that for you, that I think is a prerequisite for you to understand the importance of trading psychology. Because when you have a setup like that, when you have something that you know is working, and still if you're not able to make profits, that's when you realize, okay, I know what I have to do, but I'm still not able to generate money. I'm still not able to make money. That is when you realize, okay, there is something else to it. So this is what trading psychology is. This is what is the importance of discipline, emotional management is, risk management. Or suddenly risk management makes a lot of sense. You know, trading psychology becomes so real that you cannot unsee it at that point, because you can see it live. You can see yourself becoming a wild beast in front of the charts when you know what is at stake. So that's why I think uh, working strategy or a tested formula is very important for you to understand what is the importance of trading psychology is. At least, I mean, I'm saying practically, not theoretically. Theoretically, most people would agree that it's very important, because that's what we've been hearing since a long time. Like when you would have come to the markets itself after gambling away some money, and when you've started to seriously research on stuff like this, you would have understood that it's important. But for you to embody it, to really feel it in close quarters, I personally believe you have to have a valid strategy that's working and still not make money. Yeah, that is a stage when you understand. Okay, I need to work on my psychology because I'm not being whom I promise myself to be. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know how many of you have heard about MBTI, Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. So it's one of the tools that I was, initially hooked onto for quite some time. I personally believe it's a really great tool to understand yourself. If you open YouTube or Instagram, you can see a lot of meme pages and meme channels on MBTI that channels that make funny videos or meme content on MBTI. And we have very few channels that actually make some conceptual content on MBTI. But the truth of the matter is, I personally believe it's a great tool in understanding yourself. No, I've seen people call it pseudoscience as well. I'm pretty sure if you search it up on Wikipedia as well, you might see statements like it's pseudoscience. I personally do not agree with that statement because there has, I mean, it was tested against one of the hypotheses that its MBTI is not, holding up. So then people thought, okay, I think psychologists actually evaluated it to be pseudoscientific because it's not it has no predictive power. Like MBTI cannot predict your behavior. So I think a lot of psychologists have come to the conclusion that it's actually a hoax. It's something that people made up and it cannot actually predict human behavior, which is exactly true. I do not think MBTI can predict a human's behavior. But the thing is, the truth of the matter is that MBTI never claims it. It doesn't claim that it has some predictive power. It's all these, meme pages and this website that have come up that's calling it predictive. It never predicts your behavior. It just it's a descriptive system. It just describes what your core tendencies are and what are the major motivations and you know wants or let's say intentions behind your core self. So what are your drives? What's driving you? That is what MBTI tells to tries to convey. But I think most people misunderstand it, and I think even scientifically, it was the way it was concluded to be pseudoscientific was because it was tested against this particular idea of its predictive capability, which I also personally believe that it doesn't have that much predictive capability because it cannot predict behavior. Why? Because behavior is the outermost layer of your psyche. It is what you show to other people. But what MBTI predict is your inner core. What are your major drives and motivations, not what you show on the outside. For outside, we have, I mean, what you show on the physical realm, we have the other tests like, the big five tests, which is all, very well signed off or validated by the psychological community. But yeah, I think I think MBTI would be a great tool for people to understand themselves in that way, aid in their trading by understanding their own style of, decision making under pressure. Yeah, so I'd like to, in this channel, I would like to talk about my experience with MBTI as well, because I think it's a great thing. To be honest, MBTI got its name because Myers and Briggs actually they brought this cognitive functions from Carl Jung to this format. Actually, the science behind it, or let's say the uh, rules or criteria behind it is purely based on Carl Jung's cognitive functions. So MBTI is a result of cognitive functions. Now, if you go behind cognitive functions, people have evaluated it and described it from multiple perspectives. But there is a mm, central theme that most analysts or people of MBTI or cognitive functions have agreed to be. And Carl Jung also says about the same central theme. So it's really nice. So sometimes I think about my type. I'm an INTP. I've done the test multiple times and I've evaluated myself on the basis of cognitive functions. And I clearly understand that I am an INTP. So sometimes I wonder, like, what could be the, trading hurdles that an INTP kind of person could face? What could be the trading hurdles that another type could face? Which are the MBTI types that would have the, you know, highest probability to be a successful trader? See, this is not conclusive. It's not like that one personality type, one MBTI would be the best trader in the world. No, nothing like that. It is just that certain types are are in a little bit of advantage to be better traders than some others because their cognitive wiring is built for trading. So I was reading about all this stuff, so it's quite interesting and it would help people to understand their own weaknesses that affects their trading. So for INTPs like me, for example, our issue is not analysis or let's say figuring out a pattern from the markets. We can do that, but the major problem with INTPs comes at execution level. So something that an ESTJ or an ISTJ can do on a routine basis, that is to just follow their plan and their systematic method. INTPs would just overthink or, slightly tweak their strategy every time they get a chance, every time they are curious or they feel the dopamine of novelty, they'll just slightly tweak their strategy and forget about executing ruthlessly every day. So that is what happens to INTPs. Yeah, so this is something that I've read about. So similarly, we can see a lot of things. The strengths. If you would talk about the strengths of an INTP personality type in terms of trading, it's actually analysis and figuring out, intricate patterns. Pattern recognition is one of their skills. So, after watching charts for a long period of time, an INTP person would be able to figure out some charts that occur repetitively in the market, and can use that as an advantage, as their advan sorry, and can uh, use that as a strategy or a setup. Use it for a setup later. But the problem is that, yeah, execution. That's the biggest problem for an INTP personality type. Like they will just overthink sometimes. They will hesitate to make an entry sometimes. They will, sometimes do some impulse trades when they are not in the right mindset. The biggest problem is that they don't build rules for themselves because they think they can act in the moment. Like they're good with their brain, they're in control. But for an INTP would only understand the difference when they have an account that is actually important or valuable to them. Then, when they're trying to make this decision on demand, that is when they'll understand, okay, it's not that easy. Psychology, your primitive brain is a different beast. So, an INTP would understand that only when there are stakes involved. That is when you understand, okay, you have to build rules. Rules are necessary. But most INTP personality types who are traders, they won't build rules. They think they can manage on their own, but that's the biggest problem. So, so this rule building for an INTP becomes easier when they are aware of their own weakness, their own issues with trading, that they are not that capable of, building and maintaining rules and executing ruthlessly every day. When they know about that issue, they will focus on improving that, or they will try to understand more. Why is that my problem? Like, why is maintaining rules and following it consistently my issue? Why am I trying to be so much discretionary, which is actually not going to help me because what I think I can do is not something that I'm actually going to do in the markets when there are things at stake. Yeah, that realization came to me after a lot of, you know, pondering and analysis and all of that. And actually, MBTI helped me to arrive at that conclusion. That was a huge insight for me when I actually understood that as one of my weaknesses. So yeah. In the meantime, if you take another personality type like an ISTJ or an ESTJ, they would be extremely good at uh, execution. So they'll be really good at executing ruthlessly, repetitively, whatever strategy that they have. But their issue would be just sticking on one particular strategy or being a uh, little more rigid than other types. So they would stick on to that one particular strategy and just continue with it. That could be one of their, negatives. So each type has their own positives and negatives, and this can actually help you in your trading. No, if you have to go deep, I think we'll talk about that in another session. Or, I mean, yeah, this is my journal. I can talk about it anytime later. I'm very much interested in talking about it because, what drives an INTP is their top function, which is introverted thinking. It's called TI. Let me try to mark it here. Yeah, it's introverted thinking. There's a short form for it. It's called TI. So if you have to specify this function, it's in uh, it's a logic driven function, but the logic is not like an objective logic, it's subjective logic. Subjective logic might be confusing for a lot of people. It's just that it's still logic, so you have to understand it's not something stupid or irrational. It's logic, but then the logic is driven through one's internal model of reality. So it's not like a fact based or a metric based or an externally verified logic. It's all things are coming in from their internal model of reality, but the internal model of reality will be coherent. So yeah, that would sound pretty complex, I know, but once you understand what introverted thinking is, if you're an INTP, it opens huge doors to your personal life. I wouldn't say trading because this is something deeper than that. For example, I can just show you. I'll take you to ChatGPT and I'll show you. Let me. What is introverted thinking? I've already talked to ChatGPT a lot of times, so it might say something that's related to me, but we'll check it out. Yeah. Here is the cleanest way to see introverted thinking without mysticism or the MBTI fanfic interpretations. Introverted thinking is the mind's habit of internally building a precise model of how things work, not a surface level model, an elegant, compressed set of rules that explains why something behaves the way it does. Yeah, ChatGPT is giving us the best explanation possible for introverted thinking. Think of it like maintaining a private operating system in your head. Every piece of information is tested, debugged, and stripped down until it fits the internal architecture. Now you take that out of there and compare it to trading. What would happen if you apply that same mind to trading? Yeah. So, what would an INTP do with trading? They will try to internally build a precise model of how trading world works. Now, the only problem is it is insanely difficult to build a precise model of trading. Why? Because it involves human psychology, and human psychology is messy. It's irrational. It doesn't follow rules. And INTPs build models based on rules and axioms and stuff like that. With human mind and psychology, you cannot do that. Interesting, right? So when they try to build the same model on trading, it's extremely difficult. And what can help you to build a model that is at least close to the reality of trading? MBTI. Because why? Because MBTI is a not that precise, but then it's a probable model of human psychology. There you go. So it's like MBTI will help you to build a model of trading, but not so precise like the other precise things like mathematics, for example, but a probable model. I can No, I can vouch for it that, I mean, what factual evidence that I can give you, because there is no peer-reviewed research journal on MBTI. I personally believe, I don't know if it's there. Sorry if I'm incorrect here. That says that MBTI is like very valid on understanding somebody's thought process or something. But if you can take out, what the cognitive functions are for each type and then apply it on your friends group or whoever is in your close circle, you will see that it's actually, you know, well explained. It explains a lot of things, and it's very detailed and almost correct at at a high probable range. So it's not like it's a hoax, but it although it might not be like 100% correct, it correlates to reality to a much higher level. Yeah, let's continue. Yeah. So it's not about being smart. It's about staying loyal to internal logic over external expectations. The core instinct of TI, that is introverted thinking, which is the top function of INTPs. So I'll just give you the other functions of INTPs. So let me show you in the, no, I'll just type it here. So one is introverted thinking. The other one is, the second function is extroverted. Some people say extraverted as well. So extroverted intuition. Third is introverted sensing. The last one is extroverted feeling. These are the top four functions, but there is a theory. The theory says that there are eight functions. The last four are your shadow functions. The top four are your main functions. So yeah, if you have to go deep into the rabbit hole, it's going to take a lot of time. So I'm just going to talk about introverted thinking here. Yeah. So the core instinct of TI is TI asks one question again and again. Does this actually make sense when I strip away assumptions? So imagine you take the markets. You strip away all the noise, everything that doesn't make sense to you, everything that's irrelevant. What do you have with? You have the core mechanism behind how markets work. What is it? I mean, you can interpret it whatever way you want based on uh, whoever you are. But for an INTP, it strips down to just one thing. What is it? Markets driven by liquidity and liquidity alone. So it's just that market goes to one level, grabs some orders, comes to another level, grabs some orders from there, shoots to the other side. This is just what happens. Everybody knows it. And then, okay, let's continue. A TI mind keeps slicing until all that's left is the clean skeleton of truth. No fluff, no tradition, no this is how we do it, no social compliance. That is why INTPs and ISTPs, so ISTPs top function is TI as well. So what is the difference between INTPs and ISTPs? There's a second function onwards, it's quite different, but their first function is exactly TI. Yeah, that's why INTPs and ISTPs often explain things with surgical clarity. Yeah, that's some flattery there. That's okay. Their brain literally refuses to tolerate conceptual noise. How it works from the inside. Okay, now it's about me. I don't want to read it. That's okay. Yeah, so, uh, yeah, that was what I was saying. Now let's go back to the charts. Yeah, introverted thinking. Let me just write down the rest of the functions here. Second one is extroverted intuition. We call this NE. I can actually do this right. Yeah. Third is introverted sensing. The last one is extroverted feeling. Yeah. So the first one is called your primary function or your dominant function. Second one is called your auxiliary function. Third is called your tertiary function. The fourth one is called your uh, that is the weakest function that you have. I forgot what it was called. I think there's a term for it. Mm, let me just quickly recollect what it was. Is it locked? Why is it? Why am I not able to move? Okay. Yeah. It's called your inferior function. Yeah. So if I write it down, okay, let me just delete this drawings because now not those. First, you have to lock it. Okay. Yeah. So if I include introverted thinking also here, then we'll have just one text file. Yeah. Okay. So this one is TI. That is our dominant function. It's called DOM. Then NE is our auxiliary function. Short form is aux. That's what MBTI people call it. Then you have SI, which is your tertiary function. So I'll just write tertiary. Then you have your extroverted feeling, which is your FE. These are the dominant functions for certain other types. We call it uh, the inferior function. Yes. Yeah. So this is just one type. This is INTP personality type. If you go to the MBJ website or the 16personalities.com, you'll see things like I stands for introversion, N for intuition, T for thinking, and P for perceiving or prospecting. But that's just a name given to, all the all the just the letters in this category. But if you look at it deep, you'll see that it's governed by these functions. So INTP personalities would be driven by this subjective logic function first, introverted thinking. Next is extroverted intuition. What is extroverted intuition? It's the ability to simulate multiple possibilities in your mind. Ability to, imagine a lightning or imagine something that's starting from one core idea and branching into multiple things. That is what extroverted intuition is. So you can see multiple perspectives or multiple simulated futures of one core idea. So imagine when you have NE and TI, what happens? NE gives you multiple possibilities or perspectives, and TI ruthlessly filters these possibilities because TI cannot take everything at face value. It has to structure things, it has to make sure whatever NE brings in is actually in line with your internal model, your coherent reality inside you. So TI has to ruthlessly filter and remove a lot of things that NE is bringing to you. So imagine that synergy or harmony between TI and NE. NE with a lot of ideas, TI with sharp and ruthless precision. So that's a great combo for you to identify what is working in the markets. But the problem with this is NE is something that's uh, largely driven by your stimulation. When you get a lot of ideas, the problem is you tend to go off roads. Sometimes you won't, when you don't involve your TI that much, NE can go into overdrive, just going behind a lot of novelty and ideas instead of executing in the markets. See, when you look at somebody else, let's say an execution heavy person, they have another function which executes very well. Here, what you have is just an idea generation tool and the one that filters that idea based on logic. Not necessary that you execute this heavily in the market, and that is going to be a big problem. Third is SI. So SI is another function. So this is the order of strength of each function for that personality's psyche. So for an INTP, introverted thinking would hold the most power over all the four functions. So extroverted intuition holds secondary power. Third is SI. By the third function, the functions will end up being much weaker than the functions on the top. The fourth function is almost the weakest function. So yeah, we'll go through all these functions when I mean, we have a lot of time, right? I mean, I'm going to stream like this far into the foreseeable future. But yeah, this was something that was very interesting to me and to my, trading psychology. So I just wanted to bring this up and discuss on this. I don't know if anybody has any other budding trader or a trader who's not profitable or profitable has thought about MBTI and how MBTI can help. Yeah, but this is something that I've always thought about, and yeah, I think it's very interesting. And I think everybody who is into trading, but to be honest, not just trading, I think everybody should be reading about MBTI, and MBTI should not be discarded as some mystical, predictive, you know, myth or hoax. And people should seriously research into its possibilities. I think there is somebody who has done a research on cognitive functions. I think it's Daniel Dardi, or that is the name of the scientist, I guess. He has done some tests, and I think in his studies, he has observed that TI, so certain people has certain areas of the brain light up based on their MBTI type. For example, INTPs, when they use TI and NE, certain areas of their brain light up. At the same time, when another type uses another, let's say, extroverted feeling, when an ESFJ uses extroverted feeling function, other areas of brain light up. So this has been observed in one of his studies. See, but I'm not 100% sure about its verifiability or credibility. But the study has been cited multiple times in multiple videos, articles, etc. Yeah, but yeah, this is something really interesting. I think everybody should look into it. Let's take a look at the markets, by the way. How is it doing? I did not take a trade. I didn't even enter a paper trade because I had a lot of work. Did not find time to observe the markets during the open, which is my preferred window for trading. So couldn't take a trade. This was a nice sweep though, with momentum, showing clear momentum. Yeah, I would have been scared to take a trade from here for sure. But I've seen people who do. MES, let's see how MES is doing. Oh, I think I went on a ramble about MBTA, right? But yeah, it's something that I honestly believe is that worthwhile. So that's why I went in deep for some time. I know it's quite taxing and it's quite complicated for people who are not introduced to MBTI yet. But yeah, I just wanted to. I mean, we'll discuss about it later in much more detail. But I think it's very interesting and everybody should read upon it. I mean, I'm not saying that you should read up on, all these memes, funny facts about MBTA, but deep into it, how it's actually working. That is something that you will find is actually very relatable to real world among your friend circle or your close ones. Yeah, it's something that actually I am quite fascinated about. Yeah, I think we won't get a trade today on paper because the market's moving slow anyway, and this is not my window for trade. But yeah, I just wanted to randomly talk about something on trading psychology today. Yeah, I think then it's pretty much good that we end the stream here. Thank you.